Full card predictions for UFC Rio. As always, you can call me Kunith. Let's make some money this week. At the top of the card, we have a banger of a fight at 155 pounds. This was supposed to be Dubronx versus Rafael Fiziev. Fiziev pulls out with injury. In steps Mateusz Gamrot. Now, the narrative surrounding this fight pre-Fiziev injury was Charles's chin is going to be wet tissue paper after losing to Ilia Topuria the way that he did just a few months ago.
Or maybe tighter.
So that was a bad knockout loss, and it's hard to come back from, and I couldn't agree more. I think the turnaround time is a little bit too fast, and against somebody like Fiziev with elite takedown defense and somebody who throws bombs for 5 rounds, he was going to catch that compromised chin on a very hittable Dubronx anyway. But now I think he catches a little bit of a break here, and that's not to say that Mateusz Gamrot is some slouch or some bum that Charles is going to be able to run through, but I think stylistically, it's a better fit for Charles Oliveira and what he's looking to do. Because fish fly, birds swim, Mateusz Gamrot shoots for takedowns and gets wobbled every fight. These are facts. Also, he only has 1 knockdown in his entire UFC run, and guess how many submission attempts he's had to fight off? Take a second to guess. If your guess was 0, you were right. So here are the facts. Charles Oliveira's brain is still soup after the Topuria fight. We can't ignore that, but he's not fighting a powerful striker here anymore. He's fighting a decent striker whose striking is more of just a means to an end. Striking to set up the takedown, striking to occupy you between the takedowns. That's all he wants to do is take the fight to the mat, and he's not going to be able to change that. So since there's no backup plan, I think that favors Charles Oliveira, because Charles Oliveira, he's the biggest submission threat that this guy not only has ever seen, but will ever see in his entire fighting career, however much longer it's going to be. And when he's shooting, he's going to have to defend guillotines, darces, anacondas. He's going to maybe have to roll to get out of these, put himself in a bad position as a result. He might have to settle in a not so great position like we saw Arman Tsarukyan have to do at the end of the Charles Oliveira fight, where he basically had to go flat to avoid being darshed. And again, Gamrot is always getting wobbled, and that's why we picked Dan Hooker against him not too long ago, because Hooker just lets his strikes go, does a good job of getting back up to his feet, and that's all you need to do against Gamrot is get back up to your feet, don't let the takedowns gas you out, and just keep throwing, and eventually you're going to hit him, you're going to wobble him, you're going to steal the round as a result. Because if he can't get his wrestling going, the guy's not very much of a problem on the feet. We've seen that time and time again. And Charles Oliveira, let's not forget, he hits like a truck. We saw him send Justin Gaethje flying like jazz out of the house with a straight right hand, and I think that's going to be there for him this week. That straight right hand out of the clinch, those elbows that he's able to throw. He's also got that long flicking kind of uppercut. We saw that against Ilia Topuria, where he caught Ilia, not with everything, but he caught him, and Ilia Topuria was almost like backing up when he caught him with it, but it's very long. And if he can time that up on Mateusz Gamrot, he's going to drop him with that, and then he probably gets on top of him, takes his back, and then starts looking for submissions. And we know Charles Oliveira is going to be looking for those knees up the middle, flying knees, knees in the clinch, front kicks, a lot of just coming down the middle with punches, kicks, elbows, knees, and that's what you need to do against a wrestler. Up the middle, things that are coming up as well, and try to catch them on their way in. And for Gamrot, he's such a tricky guy to fight, because you know he's going to get those takedowns, but you know that the taking you down, getting back up to your feet, getting rematted, having to wear his weight or carry his weight, just very taxing. But for Charles Oliveira, he doesn't really mind getting taken down, and I think that's a huge plus for him with this kind of fight. He can strike freely without the threat of getting taken down. Sometimes against wrestlers, you don't want to kick too much, because if they catch it and they put you down, then you're screwed. But Charles Oliveira doesn't care, right? You can put him down, he's going to be comfortable down there. Even if he's not in a great position down there, he knows he's okay. Eventually he's going to get to where he needs to go. So aside from the damage sustained last time out, I think Charles Oliveira is just the better fighter, should win this fight. I don't think the being in Rio and the Brazilian crowd is going to make that much of a difference here, but if it did have any impact on the fight, it would be positive toward Charles Dubronx. So give me Charles Oliveira to win this fight. I think he shouldn't be the underdog here. I think he wins inside the distance. In the co-main spot, we have a big step up for Montel Jackson here with an opportunity to knock off, dare I say, an all-timer? Deiveson Figuierdo, Brazilian MMA legend with all the UFC titles that he competed for. So is that right? Like, would you consider him a legend? Let me know in the comments, please. But anyway, Deiveson Figueiredo's got his hands full here, because he's dealing with a longer, younger fighter who's made a career off of just blowing people's shit off smooth. And at first glance, I really did like Deiveson Figueiredo as the underdog, because you look at these fights that Montel Jackson has lost, it's the same thing. A better wrestler comes in, takes him down, keeps him down. It's kind of hard to keep him down, but once you get your takedowns going, you can chain a few together, and this guy can let minutes slip by as a result. And that's also because he could be a little bit low volume at times, but I think the physical differences here, the power that Montel Jackson carries at 135 pounds, I think it's a disaster for Deiveson Figueiredo. Because on the feet, I know Deiveson Figueiredo has put guys out. He's gone strike for strike with some of the best strikers. He's only fought champions or guys who have contended for the title for years now, but I do think that Montel Jackson might have a little bit more hand speed, obviously a lot more length and size to work with. And I feel like nowadays 37-year-old Deiveson Figueiredo up at 135 pounds, he's more reactive now, and he's always been kind of reactive. Like, I'll stand in front of you, I'll wait for you to throw, pull, counter. He got away with that for a long time, but at 135 pounds, especially with a guy with this kind of length, you're not going to pull counter a guy who's got a 7.5-inch reach advantage and a 5-inch height advantage on you. It's not going to happen. And coming off back-to-back losses, injury sustained, I don't like it. I think Montel Jackson is the real deal. I wanted to make the argument on the other side a lot more than I did, but I just can't. At the end of the day, I think Montel Jackson is at a better place as far as his career goes. I don't think there's much left in the tank for old Deiveson Figueiredo. So give me Montel Jackson. I think he wins this fight by knockout. And real quick, if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment something for the algorithm. You know how the algorithm works. Vicente Luque versus Joel Alvarez, matchmakers, you dirty dogs, you. Fights like this just stir something up inside of you, right? It's like when you're driving a car at night and you see a car without its headlights on, you flash your high beams, then you see the headlights turn on, you're like, yeah. That's what this fight feels like, and it's two guys who are finishers, who lay it all on the line, and unfortunately, one of them's got to lose, but fortunately, somebody's going to win in spectacular fashion. And people were telling me in the lead up to the Themba Gorimbo fight that Luque was washed, he's chopped huz, he's not going to win again, Themba Gorimbo's going to beat him, which I thought was crazy, and we should have made way more money than we did just as a population on Vicente Luque that night, coming in at plus money. But he went in there, he did the damn thing, shook off the past his prime narrative. Now it's back though, right? Getting packed up the way he did against Kevin Holland, which is not terrible. I want to make something very clear. If Kevin Holland locked in, he beats up your favorite fighter like 8 out of 10 times. So there's no shame in that. But when the shame starts to set in, or at least when we can start looking at this guy a little bit differently at this stage in his career, is when you start to zoom out a little bit and you realize, okay, he's 2-4 in his last 6, and 3 of the last 4 losses are inside the distance. He went from a guy who was impossible to finish to a guy who keeps getting finished. And now at 33, with a million fights under his belt, a lot of training as well, those 33 years, you got to count them like dog years, right? Now for Joel Alvarez, he's a fresh, primed 32 years old. Tons of momentum, swagger, ability to back it up. We've seen plenty of guys come into the UFC, you look at their resumes, they're finishing fights. And this guy did the same thing. Showed up in the UFC, and his finish rate that was already like in the 90s, it went up. That's how you know you're dealing with a different animal, because this guy's got a 100% finish rate in the UFC. He's gotten better over time, even with the step up in competition, and he's evolved his game. You start looking through his resume, it's a guy who was a submission threat early on in these fights, and now he's knocking guys out. Most of his wins in the UFC are by knockout, and it's not like he's catching guys with a lucky punch or at the end of something, knocking them out in creative ways. He's getting to the clinch, he's landing knees, he's landing elbows, he's tying them up and then using that length, which is a very interesting part of his game. Normally when you talk about guys like this, 6'3", 77-inch reach, especially when he was fighting at 155 pounds, normally when you're talking about length, long, rangy guys, that means they're standing on the outside, hitting you where they can't be hit. But it also works the opposite way. And I remember learning this lesson when I was like 15 years old or something. I was on the track team. I would throw shot and stuff like that. And I was very strong for my age. And I remember we had this tall kid who ran like mid distance. And when I say tall, I mean he was like 6'3", very long, skinny arms as well. And I remember I arm wrestled him and I got destroyed. And at the time, I was not losing no arm wrestling matches. But that length, that fulcrum, I don't know what you would call it. It's a lot of leverage that you can get, and these guys who are really long fighters, I think they like to use their length defensively, try to stay safe, but there is some benefit to using it in tight, because you can create a lot of leverage and generate a lot of power in short spaces because of your long limbs. And I feel like Joel Alvarez has figured that piece out, because he's in your chest throwing nothing but heat, right? Knees, elbows in tight, and he's generating a lot of power, and he's able to use the offhand or something that he's not hitting you with to tie you up as well. So very creative work in the clinch and a very creative way to use his length. I see him blitzing Vicente Luque here, just showing him no respect, walking him down early, letting it all hang out and finishing him fast, because I think if he doesn't do that, then it's a mistake. If he shows him too much respect, if he stands on the outside, he's going to get his legs chewed up, he's going to get kicked to the body, he's going to start to slow down. And Vicente Luque is like, you can't let him get too much momentum, right? He's like a rock collecting moss rolling down a hill. You don't want that to happen. So I think the game plan for Joel Alvarez is to start fast, start strong, and win the fight in short time. I think Joel Alvarez wins inside the distance. And he probably finds himself on the official betting article of the week. That's going to be on kunithmma.com, linked in the description and in a pinned comment, completely free as well to go see everything on kunithmma.com. It'll stay that way. So your DFS strategy guide, official bets of the week, the groups as well, which is a new feature where you can go in, post, talk freely with others. And you can also DM people on the site, which has always been a function, but we haven't really discussed it much. But if you see somebody who posts something that you like and you just want to talk with them, you can always send them a message. There's a messenger piece of all this as well. But just to give you an idea of what the official betting article looked like last week, I'll go over the DFS strategy guide on the DFS video later in the week. I don't want to spend too much time in this video talking about fantasy for those of you that aren't really involved in it or care about it. But we had 5 bets going out last week. Small parlay with Hardy and Brahimai. That was the big one that actually paid out. Pat Mix is a bum. Abus Magomedov is a bum. Hey, you got 5 minutes of gas. Hey, let some Polish kid beat you up. But then Edmund Shabazian knockout, of course. And then Yuri Prohaska, just a mountain of a man, right? He's not even real. So that was pretty cool. Nice to see hundreds of views on this last week. So I'm hoping that those hundreds of views turned into hundreds of you winning hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars. But all of that can be found at kunithmma.com, linked in the description and in a pinned comment. Back to the breakdown. Next, we have Jhonata Diniz. He's fighting Mario Pinto this week. Heavyweights, big boys looking to strike here. And with that, how could you not go with Jhonata Diniz? He's been doing it for too long. He's got that extensive kickboxing background. This guy's been fighting as a professional for more than Mario Pinto's been an adult. He's been fighting since Mario Pinto was like 12 years old. So I don't see him losing a fight where both guys are looking to strike. Now, if Mario Pinto wants to get the fight to the mat, that's where things get dicey because Jhonata Diniz is very much a fish out of water down there. And I think that is what's keeping the betting line in check. Also, the knockout that we saw Mario Pinto have over Austin Lane where he just knocked him out cold with that hook, that's keeping the line in check. But if this guy thinks that he's going to stand across from Jhonata Diniz for 15 minutes, I'm telling you now, winter is coming. A few technical things as to why I think that, a few things that stand out, if you will. If you look at Mario Pinto's last 2 fights, so the Austin Lane fight and the fight on Contender Series, 1, naked leg kicks work against him. He doesn't really punish them as much as he should, and I think that's because he wants to keep a very high guard. He prioritizes blocking his head and his face, which is smart, but you can also keep a high guard and make sure you are blocking kicks, right? But he's not checking kicks. It's one or the other. I'm either going to check the kick or I'm going to block high, and he's going to choose to block high. And that means that guys can start chipping away at those legs, and a kickboxer like Jhonata Diniz is going to take full advantage of that. He's going to chew those legs up. He's going to start ripping low kicks immediately in this fight if he's watching any film at all. Second thing that stands out, and you saw this more on the Contender Series fight, Mario Pinto tends to kind of Frankenstein at times, right? Where guys want to throw things toward his head and he extends both of his arms to maybe like catch it on his arms, block it, parry it, stuff like that. But that's not always wise, especially against a sophisticated striker, at least a seasoned one, who can throw 3, 4, 5 punches at a time and start to find his way through the guard and make it home. So I think Jhonata Diniz is just ability, just fluency on the feet when it comes to the striking. I think he'll be able to start landing around the guard, through the guard, where the guard is not. And I think that's where Mario Pinto is going to be in trouble. Now, obviously, Diniz is going to be in some trouble as well because of the hand speed coming from Mario Pinto. Because when he does decide to let those hooks go, they're coming fast, they're accurate, and he's putting guys out because of it. And if Jhonata Diniz doesn't find the mark, in my opinion, in like the first 7 or 8 minutes here, he's going to get put out late. Because I think what Mario Pinto is doing more than anything is getting timing, finding his range, and he's also maybe unknowingly kind of lulling guys to sleep. You're throwing at him, he's shelling up, throwing light stuff back your way, half speed stuff, shelling up, arms extended, and then wham, throwing Chet across your face with one of these hooks, and he's going to find the mark and put that ass to sleep. So you have to be very mindful of that if you're Diniz, but he's also got a good chin. Now, Mario Pinto might just throw so hard that having a good chin doesn't matter. That's to be seen, because Austin Lane's not a great measure for how good your chin is or how big your power is. But he is beatable. He is hittable. Like, even in that Austin Lane fight, Austin Lane dropped him, had him rocked. And what did Austin Lane do? Having super low fight IQ, rocks him, drops him, clinches him for the rest of the round. Why? why. I think if Diniz finds himself in the same position, he's going to follow up with some strikes, get back to striking distance, continue to let his hands go, and then find the mark. So I like Mario Pinto. I think he starches a lot of guys for a lot of years in the UFC. But I think that the better striker who's paid his dues, he's been in the game a little bit longer, I think he's going to find the opportunities and seize them in this fight. So give me Jhonata Diniz to win this fight by knockout. I think a lot of fights are going under this week, but maybe not this one. Maybe Ricardo Ramos and Kaan Ofli go the distance. And that's the beauty of having a guy like Ricardo Ramos on the roster, at least for someone like me who makes stuff like this, because he's been here for so long. He's basically grown up in the UFC. That gives us a chance to look at the entire body of work. And once the dust settles, you realize this guy's been booked against killers for years. A couple of names I'm going to throw at you here. Ayman Zahabi, who's currently ranked top 10. Said Nurmagomedov, tough fight for anybody, can pull your head off with that ninja choke. Lerone Murphy might be the champion before year's end. Charles Jourdain, warrior. Juicy J. Julian Erosa, tough fight for anybody, a junkyard dog really. Chepe Mariscal, an even bigger junkyard dog. Kaan Ofli would be absolutely on a t-shirt if he had to go through that list of guys. So I think level of competition looms large here, and I've discussed this in a recent video. I'm not going to put too much stock in level of competition overall, but I think here it does make a lot of sense. The gap is just far too wide, and not only because of the guys that he's faced, but he's had success against these guys. He's beaten good fighters on the roster before. He's produced some highlight reel moments. He's fighting out of a good gym. He's been doing it for a long time around good fighters. Kaan Ofli hasn't won a round in the UFC. I think the game plan for Ofli here is just to wrestle, but I don't think that's going to be enough. Ramos on his best day is dangerous on the mat. He can defend takedowns to keep the fight from getting there. He'll have a 6-inch reach advantage, and he's proven that he's somebody who should be on the roster. Same can't be said for Ofli. I think as long as he stays under minus 200, the money line's good enough here. I wouldn't take him inside the distance. If you do, I'm not mad at you, but I think that there's a chance that you might have a little bit too much dip on your chip in that situation. Because Ramos can finish fights. He has put guys, again, on the highlight reel before, but he might be doing a lot of defending takedowns, working back up to his feet, managing distance, and just winning minutes here more than putting the finishing touches on this one. So I think that Ricardo Ramos wins this fight. Give me Ramos by decision. Next one, you have, oh man, Akbar.
It's a trap!
Feels that way. Lucas Almeida fighting Michael Aswell. We watched Michael Aswell on short notice up a weight class against Balagioki, who I'm not that fond of if you've been following the content. He showcased a good chin in that fight. Willingness to throw down, decent gas tank despite the short notice nature of the fight. I do like Almeida though. I like the size for the division. I like that MMA adapted Brazilian style of Muay Thai. I think that's always fun to watch. I think it's effective if guys can do it well. I think he gives a lot of guys very tough fights as well, but he's not the most athletic man going. That's what I don't like about Lucas Almeida. He's stiff as a board. He looks like he can't dance. Not the twitchiest, not the fastest. At times can be a bit lower volume than you'd like to see. And Michael Aswell, again, it feels kind of trappy because I know everybody's going to be on Michael Aswell this week. Might be one of those situations where we give a guy too much credit for how he looked in a loss, and that happens all the time. But he's fighting out of that 4-ounce fight club, same place Josh Van's fighting out of. We saw Alden Correa show up and spring a huge upset a couple of weeks ago. So that gym is picking up steam, and that kind of happens, right? Gyms ascend, they get hot when they have a guy break through, and now all of a sudden they got two guys here, and you know, Ike Villanueva was in But I think Michael Aswell's high output and willingness to throw down is going to overwhelm Lucas Almeida in spots here. He's for sure got the speed advantage. I think everybody at 145 pounds is faster. They're quicker, twitchier than Lucas Almeida. So I think he might triple him up on the numbers here. Through his two fights, the one on Contender Series, the one against Balagioki, he's eclipsing 100 significant strikes each time. So he can drag this striker into deep wah-wah, and he's probably got a better chin between these two as well. Plus Almeida missed weight last time out. It's not a great look for a guy who's aging, big for the division already. Getting this 145 weight cut in check is really important, but it might just be getting harder at this point. It's not going to get easier, right? So it's just getting harder for him. Again, does feel a bit like a trappy spot. I assume everybody's going to be on Michael Aswell, but I do like him to get it done here. Don't bet it though. I wouldn't take Michael Aswell, and I know if he wins, you're going to be like, oh, those odds, I should just parlayed him with something else. It would have been beefing it up. I get that. what I would recommend if your sportsbook offers it is just look for the significant strikes landed number and start going for something that's at like plus 300, because I think he's going to land a lot. So load up on that one. Michael Aswell, decision. I'll tell you, I was a bit surprised by the line here in the Jafel Filho Clayton Carpenter fight. I thought Jafel Filho would be a favorite here, but money's continuing to come in on Clayton Carpenter, and I'm really not sure why. Both guys are coming off of losses, very different losses, might I add. Clayton Carpenter losing for the first time as a pro to Tagir Ulanbekov, which no shame in that. I think Tagir is a beast, the dark horse at 125 pounds. Great on the mat, looked the part against Clayton Carpenter, just a bit too experienced there, and he was able to maintain top position for extended periods of time in that fight. He was able to get Clayton Carpenter down to the mat every round, but that's Tagir Ulanbekov. That's supposed to happen. For Filho, though, he lost because of poor fight IQ, poor conditioning, and poor control, and that's not something you like to see. Clayton Carpenter loses to a guy who's a better fighter than him. Jafel Filho loses to a guy who's not a better fighter than him and just comes up short. That's not a good look at all. And I'm pretty sure there was stuff that came out after the fight about Jafel Filho maybe not being 100%, being compromised coming into that fight, and that spoke to the poor cardio, but he also smoked back control over and over again. He got to the guy's back, and then you get reversed, and you lose position, and then you find yourself in bottom, and you lose the round as a result. That's terrible. So one guy's outmatched skill-wise, the other guy loses his nerve. I do expect a better one from Jafel Filho this week. We just have to assume he's at 100% unless we see something otherwise that says he's compromised or he comes out and says it. Then there's nothing we can really do. We have to assume he's at 100%. And what you like from Jafel Filho is that he's securing takedowns in these fights. Clayton Carpenter's rocking a 42% takedown defense. I think Filho has better jiu-jitsu as well. Clayton Carpenter might be the better athlete, might have better hands, definitely the better boxer. If they stay on the feet for too long, I think he can give Filho hell here. But I do think he's going to find himself getting taken down each round. And I think on the mat, I think Filho gives us a little bit more. So I think it's a close one. But down in Brazil, a bit more prepared, healthy Jafel Filho is going to win. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him win by submission either, because the guy's obviously submission over position. So much so that he was willing to lose back control multiple times last time out because he's still hunting for it. That might just be how he's wired. So I don't expect him to play it safe because of what happened last time. I think he just goes for it. Give me the Brazilian dog here to get it done. Give me Jafel Filho to win by submission. We can go a little quicker through these next two, right? Vitor Petrino fighting Thomas Petersen. I'm surprised that this is only what we're seeing as far as odds go for Vitor Petrino. But they sent Thomas Jefferson, that poor man, to get smoked down in Brazil. I think that Vitor Petrino runs through him. I think Vitor Petrino at light heavyweight was compromising himself too much. At heavyweight, he's like Rock Lee taking off the ankle weights. So let me see this different level of athlete here, and I think he just cuts through Petersen with ease. I actually like him by submission as well. I think that squeeze that he has at 200 and whatever pounds he's going to come in at is a little bit too much. I think he gets Thomas Petersen down and squeezes the life out of him. Give me Vitor Petrino by sub. Another submission win here. You've got Beatriz Mesquita. Mesquitas aren't just things that bother you at camp. They're also things that are going to choke you out in front of thousands of Brazilians screaming. So give me the decorated Brazilian jiu-jitsu player versus someone who probably can't even decorate her living room. So give me Beatriz Mesquita to win this fight by submission. Let's move on. Next, we have a fight at 125 pounds. Lucas Rocha, he's fighting Stuart Nickel, and y'all are probably old enough to remember Stuart Nickel looked like Stuart Little last time out as a minus 250 favorite against Jesus Aguilar, where he got instantly guillotined to sleep. Not a good look. Now, Lucas Rocha struggled in his UFC debut as well as against Clayton Carpenter, who just beat him everywhere. Rocha had like a very small amount of success in that fight, just a few moments, looked scrappy, but not nearly as polished as Clayton Carpenter, and lost because of it. Here's what I think, though, what we can take from that fight and what we saw in Contender Series, really. I think strong wrestlers can get it done against Rocha every time, unless something changes. He's a young guy. He can round out that part of his game, although when you see him like that picture's like, okay. But when you see him on fight day, he's going to look like he's anywhere between 14 and 40 years old. But Stuart Nickel does do a really good job of getting guys to the mat. He's great at getting to his spot. He lands hard shots when he's in top position as well. And I think for betting purposes, we should be happy that he got guillotined last time out, because I think this fight actually is an easy one for him. I don't think the lines are indicative of what's going to happen in this fight at all. He should be able to ground Rocha here, who's small even for flyweight. And once he's on top, I think he just gives him hell, because Rocha's tougher than he is good, I think. So he's not going to prioritize defense as much as he should. And that's going to allow Nickel to go in there, open up, bust him up, and probably get him out of there in the second round as a result of damage. So give me Stuart Nickel to win this fight. I think he wins inside the distance. I tried to tell you last time that Walter Walker was going to heel hook Kennedy and Zejiku, and a couple people told me that was bonkers, and then he goes out there and he does it because he's the best in the world at it. Best in the world by far. He's a specialist, and he's going to keep doing that to guys. He's going to keep getting away with it. The danger when you do stuff like that, especially with the way that he's willing to just drop for it, sometimes these guys are just standing up watching you fall to your back. And these are heavyweights, right? How many shots does it take for them to just look down, boom, 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 and you're out? So it's a dangerous game that he's playing, but he plays it so damn well. And the thing is, once he's on your lower half, yes, you can strike, but you're also met with a choice right then and there. And it's a choice that these guys know they have before the fight starts. You could choose to tap early and probably get upset with yourself like, damn, I should have fought out of that more, but at least you get to fight again soon if you want to. Or you tap late. If you tap late, he's going to rip your shit up, and then you're not able to earn money for like 6 months. So you have to be careful. You're picking your poison at that point. And I think that these guys know that. So once he gets on your lower half, it's basically a wrap. And for Muhammad Usman, what is he really going to do? Is he going to use footwork to stay out of the clinch, fight behind a jab? He can do these things. When was the last time we saw the motor fight a smart game plan? Come on. I think Walter Walker submits him, probably does it in the first round, just corrals him up against the fence. And I will say, Muhammad Usman, when it comes to denying guys the clinch, he will headbutt you. He will fight like you are trying to rob him. He's going to do everything he can to get out of that clinch. But I think Walter Walker really just needs to settle him against the cage for a couple of seconds and then drop down to that heel and do what he does. Give me Walter Walker to win this fight by heel hook. The line for this one is crazy, but I do think that Julia Pilastri should win because we saw what she looked like in that third round against Luque Godinez, which I'm starting to get a little annoyed with watching Luque Godinez fight, winning the first 2 rounds, getting her ass kicked for the third round, and then winning the fight because of it. I hate when I see that, and we see it all the time. I think Julia Pilastri just throws too hard, lands too heavy. Younger fighter here, going to be throwing more strikes. Karolina Kowalkiewicz is throwing nothing back her way. Like, she'll throw, it just won't feel like anything's happening. So I think Julia Pilastri, rightfully a huge favorite here. If you want to get a better line, maybe take her by knockout. I think that could be fun for you, or at least take the significant strike lines because it's women's MMA, especially in the smaller weight class. They're going to count every strike as significant. So keep that in mind when you're looking at this one. But Julia Pilastri by knockout, maybe. And then lastly, we have Simon Oliveira versus Luan Lacerda. Both guys who, I don't know if either of them are UFC caliber. I think Luan Lacerda maybe is the rightful favorite. Simon Oliveira just hasn't really showed me anything to make me believe otherwise. It's tough though because Luan Lacerda wants to grapple. Simon Oliveira not only can grapple, but he can strike as well. I think the line is a bit wide, but I do think that Luan Lacerda, maybe with the time off, is going to come back and look a little bit better. So I don't love it. I really don't. I'd prefer not to pick a fighter here, but I'll take Luan Lacerda to win this fight. Let's say he wins by decision. If you've made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment something for the algorithm, and I'll see you later in the week for final picks. Let's go.